if you're going to keep those kind of znanim.
Yes.
By the way, guys, I'm serving lace cookies.
Oh, yeah, perfect. I'll be there on time. Lace cookies.
Is that the lady you give hashgacha on? Is that so her cookies?
No, the lace cookies are only going to be on the ladies' side.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. We could go into there. That's no problem.
Why the ladies' side? It's only the men who have a problem with them. Some men.
Did he say lace cookies or lace?
Rabbi
cookies?
Stein.
Yes.
So they have a.
Oh, great.
You're drinking too much, Jesse. You're drinking way too much.
Whatever they have, I think he moved to Cleveland.
Jesse, tell the horse to hurry up so you can get more service.
Ignore him. He's in Bumble something or other over there.
He's staying next door to Gershi.
Can I use that to tovel?
Hey, yeah, I'm
Nobody
good.
heard
I
a
need
word
to
you
tovel
said,
the,
Jesse.
My crock pot. If I need to tovel
Jesse.
the crock pot.
Do you
Can
need
you
to
hear me
tovel a
now?
crock?
From Sri Yaakov,
Yes.
he's on his way to Walmart now to buy a new crock pot because his in-laws crock pot is only a 10-hour pot. So he's running to Walmart now. He's in Massachusetts by his in-laws' house. So he's calling you from the car, he's getting a new crock pot.
Right. So I just got reception. There's a river over here called the Housatonic. Right over here, it's about a foot and a half deep. Is that enough for Tfilas Kalim?
Jesse, only you, baby. Only you.
Is that the regular way it flows? Does it look like it's higher than normal?
No, it's flowing. This is actually a little lower than normal.
Yeah, so you could use it.
Okay, beautiful.
If you're not sure, then just have in mind not to be kohen from Walmart, and then you'll be okay.
Now, if we have a crock pot bag, does
No,
that
that
affect
doesn't
anything
help.
or no?
Doesn't
Okay,
help.
fine.
Just have in mind when you buy it from Walmart that you're not acquiring it. It still belongs to Walmart. You're halachically not acquiring it, and then it belongs to Walmart, and it doesn't belong to you, and it doesn't need tefillah, at least temporarily. And then if you decide you can get it into the river, so then fine, then you'll be kohen.
All right, thank you.
All right.
So Yaakov, I'm shocked at you. Come on, there's an easier way. Put it on a credit card. It's even better.
I'm assuming he's putting it on a credit card.
Okay, so there you go.
No, but a credit card is still kohen. I mean, if you hold the credit card as kindness, so then, I mean, on that side that it's kindness. So you say that you don't have in mind to be to be kindness.
I should be able to tovel it.
Okay. All right. Okay, ready? The Olam got the Olam got my post of my picture with the size of the hands.
Yeah.
Anybody? Okay, as long as the Olam got it. Yeah. They're pretty big, those hands, let me tell you. Those guys, those basketball players' mothers had whatever they Wheaties. They really ate their Wheaties. Okay, so we're about 10 lines up from the bottom. Turn up on them. All right, that's what we got up to. Turn up on them. By the way, there's an Igros Moshe that says, just we have to discuss the Kimchas thing again. The Ramosha says that in Orach Chaim, he says Miyoma. He says we never heard of anybody being makbid on Kimchas. He says he never heard of anybody. The Tanaim were not makbid on it, and it was like a one-off. So he pretty much says you don't. It's not really makubal to be so makbid like Kimchas was. That's what Ramosha says. So it's an interesting thing. Okay, clearly the poskim nowadays are not going with Ramosha on too many things. So. Right. So Tana Rabbana. The kmitza shelo yasa mida lekmitza. So what does the kmitza mean?
Where are you starting from?
About 10 lines up from the bottom. Tana Rabbana. On Mem Zayin Amud Aleph.
Got it.
All right. So kmitza is when you take the flour. Right. We're going to be talking about the two things. There's kmitza, which is the flour for the korban mincha, and then there's chafina, which is taking the incense, the ketores, for on Yom Kippur. Right. So the pasuk says bekumtzai, which is shelo yasa mida lekmitza. That means you're not supposed to make any measurements to the kmitza. The kmitza is totally a subjective thing, right? And that's totally in how big. We'll see exactly how you do it in a little bit. But actually, maybe it's gonna be tomorrow's stuff. So basically, what it is that he takes the 3 fingers, the kohen puts his palm into the pot of flour, right? He puts his palm into the pot of flour, and then he folds over his 3 fingers, and that's how much a kmitza is, which will tomorrow's daf will be, as Hashem, will be about that. Yeah. So Ibaylu, so they asked the Shiloh, Ma'o sheyasa mida lechafina. Can you make a measurement for the chafina, which is again the 2 hands for the ketores on Yom Kippur? It says it by kohens. For flour, it says no mida. But what about for chafina? So hasam hu desib bekumzai. There by the carbon mincha says bekumzai. Aval hacha the like sib bechafna. But here it doesn't say bechafna, right? It doesn't. So it doesn't say that. So therefore, it should be. You should be able to measure it. Ella malay chafna ketores samim daka. All it says is a handful of ketores of samim that's very thin. So then so you wouldn't have to, you'd be able to use a measuring cup or whatever it is. I dilma, yalef malay mekumtzai. Or do we learn out Xera Shava malay from kumtzai? And just like by koimitz, he can't use a measurement. So too by chafina, you can't use a measurement. So tashma, the Gemara says right? This was the measurement. My love, shim ratzalasis mida acheres oisa. Right? Doesn't it mean that it says the kach hoisa midasa? It says that that's its measurement. So it sounds like you can use something measured. You don't have to use singular hands. It's possible to use something measured. My love, shim ratzalasis mida acheres oisa. That if you could use another mida, loy. So the Gemara says no, you cannot use a measuring cup. What he has to do is he has to go back and measure it. He has to do another. Remember the process. The process is he takes a shovel. They give him a shovel. They bring it. He hands in it, takes out the ketores, puts it into the spoon, carries it in. Right. Then he has to put it back into his hands before he puts it on the coals in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So that's what the pasuk is saying, is that he has to go back and do a second chafina. Right? He doesn't take it from the spoon and pour it on top of the coals. He takes his hands, puts it back into the and
he's supposed to pick it all up.
What?
He's supposed to pick it all up.
Yeah, he has to pick it all back up from the spoon. So the Gemara says, Shamas mina chayfin v'chayzer v'chayfin. So what you mean to say is that he has to do chafina and then go back once he's in the kodesh, he doesn't do another chafina, right? So maybe if he want, maybe what the pasuk is saying that it's that if he wants to do a midah, he could. Or maybe it's saying that he can't take any less or any more than what was in his hands. Right, so we don't know maybe it doesn't mean. How do you know which way to darshan the pasuk? The Gemara is leaving it that we don't know. Maybe it means that he has to do the chafina twice, or maybe it means that he could take another measurement. Or that it has to be the exact same measurement as before. You can't have 2 different measurements. Yeah. So let's survive.
What happens if he takes it and it? What happens if he takes it and it doesn't fill up totally? What happens? So sometimes you pick up sand, and I'm saying you take a handful of sand, and it's not a whole handful. So he had to do this, and he had to fill it up perfectly on his hands. What happens if he miscalculated a little bit?
I don't know. The assumption is that his hand size is the same before and after. No. What happens if he does? I was wondering, similar to you, what happens if he doesn't get it all in his hands? Does he go scoop it up and put it into his hand then? How does he do that? He's only got 2 hands. He can't use his mouth either. That we saw yesterday. So I don't know.
He takes the shovel from under his armpit. Take the shovel from under your armpit.
Use the shovel. Okay, but now that's full of coals.
I'm joking.
Right. So listen, we're going to see on Beis. They said this is the hardest job in the Beis Hamikdash. I guess maybe this is part of why it's the hardest job in the Beis Hamikdash. Yeah. So Tana Rabbanon. Yeah. Malay kumtzai. Right. So it says you have to have a full kmitza. Yachol mavuras. So you would think that you have a kmitza from the fingers, that it should be like you take a huge heaping. How do you call it? A heaping teaspoon. But it's not a teaspoon. It's just a heaping fingerful. And that's how big it should be. Tamalaymer bekumtzai. It means bekumtzai, meaning just as regular, whatever fits in his fingers. It shouldn't be any more than that. But if you're going with kumtzai, yachal afilu barashi etvaisa. So you think that it's just the tips of his fingers, not the whole finger, meaning he's putting the flour, instead of doing the entire finger like this, well, it's 3 fingers, right? The entire fingers like this, I don't know if you could see, he should just do it like this, just the tips, just what's in the tips, right? So it says milai kumtzai, the kamtzi inchi, the way people do it when they'll pick up something like that. Okay, tzad. What does he do? He takes the 3 fingers and he pushes it down onto the palm of his hand and he picks up whatever he gets.
When we say normal people do a kohens, what normal person does a kohens?
Yes, I'm not so sure nowadays normal people do. I think it's an abnormal person
back then
nowadays.
they did?
I guess so. That must have been a way for them to take out flour. No, I guess. So
Also, what's pisas yodai? Not kaf yodai. Where is pisas yodai?
Why does it change l'shinus?
Is it a different spot?
What?
Is it a different spot? Does it mean the bottom, the base, rather than?
I thought you think it's further down the hand. That's what you want to say.
Yeah.
Maybe. Any of the picture books have anything? Yeah, I think. Okay, let's see what. One of the picture things must be. Okay, right. Lost the place. Okay, top. I can't lose the place. The top word. Now, machpas and macheshes are 2 different types of korban minchas. Those are ones that are used in a frying pan, and macheshes is a deep pan, a deep frying pan. Yeah? So there, there he takes the thumb and he smooths it, right? So he takes the handful and then he smooths it out with his thumb like this. He goes like this and he smooths it out, right? And the pinky, he smooths it out that way. So all he has is a perfect amount of flour in his hand. And this is the avodah kasha shabemikdash, right?
What does that mean? This is the hardest avoid in the mixture.
Yes, because he has to grab the flour in like this. He has to knock it off this way, knock it off with the pinky, right? And yeah, so it's a whole process. I would say we wait till menachos to.
Flour. I'm saying, how's that the hardest avoid in the mixture? I'm saying,
Well,
big animals.
Which one do you vote to be the hardest? We'll let you vote.
Probably what's a shechting.
I don't know. The shechting animals
Right,
and
it's next,
schlepping big things. I don't know.
Is it when he's in the Kodesh Kedoshim and he's got to use the ladle and he's got to pour it onto the coals? Isn't that kind of difficult? Using his mouth or whatever he's using?
No, the Gemara is going to ask that question right now. Okay. Yeah, the Gemara is going to ask that kasha right now. So now it's saying that kmitza is the hardest.
I learned it was this particular kmitza. This particular kmitza, machpas and marcheshes, because the pieces,
correct.
It's not flour. It's pieces bigger than a kazayas. So he has to brush them off without taking out from the kmitza. He still has to leave a kmitza.
So Yaakov, I just posted some good pictures.
That is correct. Oh yeah? Okay, good. Thank you. Check it out. But yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. It's pieces. By this, it's pieces, and therefore to knock it off. You posted a lot of pictures. Okay, very good. Do they have the marcheshes? Yeah. Okay, and so let's see weiter. Thank you. The Zui avoid the kosher mikdash. The Gemara says Zuhi v'sulai. This is the hardest. There's nothing else. V'ika malika, right? So I'm Naftali. I thought you'd say malika, right? Malika's nail and slice the neck off with your fingernail, right? V'ika chafina, and there's also chafina, which is what the kohen got allowed to do with the ketores and bringing it inside with the shovels. That's what Dr. Zakaris says. Elazuhi me avodas kasha shavimikdash. What it is this is one of the avodas kasha shavimikdash. Doesn't mean it's the most avodah kasha, but it's one of the hardest. Fine. Some Rabbi Yochanan. Boy, Rabbi Yeshua ben Uzzah. Rabbi Yeshua ben Uzzah asked, yeah, Bein habenayim shall maloi kamtei mao. What about all the flour that gets stuck in between his fingers? Right, meaning you have in between the fingers some flour is going to get in there. What's the status of that flour? Right? Samra papa the gavoy loitiboilo. What's on the inner side of the fingers? Right, in between the fingers, there's a lot of space. So what's on the inner side of the fingers? That's no question. The vade kmitza. That's part of the kmitza, and that has to be put onto the carbon. The broy loitiboilo. What's on the outside of the fingers? That's also not a question. The vade shirayim. That's considered leftovers. Kiti boiloch the beini, right in between, right, with smack in the middle of the fingers, right, Rabban. This would be a great place to say, what are you getting so caught up on things? Just say it's Perek, right? But the Gemara
Right.
Gemara's not going down that road here. So we have to figure out. So there's three parts of the finger. There's the top, that's no problem. The bottom is for sure kedusha. In the middle, we don't know. Yeah. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hadar Pashta Yeshua ben Uzzah. He answered his own question. It's a suffix, right? Great. Now what? That's his answer, right? It's a suffix. Yeah. So we don't have an answer. I see. It's interesting. It's not a teku. He's not saying teku. It's saying it's a suffix. Yeah. Now there's a big tumult in the Paiskim. Is what's with bein hashmashas? Meaning, it seems like from here you say that there's something halachically called a suffix, meaning it's a suffix. In America, this doesn't roll. This doesn't roll. Like what do you mean it's a suffix? Either give me a decision, either yay or nay, right? No, there's a status of suffix. So some parts can say bein hashmashas has the same thing. Bein hashmashas is a automatic suffix, right? We just don't know. We don't know. Is it day or is it night? Right? It means that everything that goes on there is just a total suffix. Okay, whatever it is. The bottom line is what you're supposed to do. Now that it's a suffix, so what is the kohen supposed to do with the flour that's stuck in between his fingers? So first he burns the kmitza by itself, and then he goes and he burns what was in between the fingers. Now, why does he have to do it that way? Why can't he just take that leftover flour that was in between his fingers and put it on with the rest of the carbon? Because if you say that he should first burn what's in his fingers, maybe that's considered shirayim. And that's shirayim that was left, that was missing from between the kmitza and when you put it onto the mizbeach. Shirayim shechasru bein kmitza laktara. You have leftovers. That's something. If the flour, the kmitza, some of it went missing between when he took the handful and he put it on to the mizbeach. Ein maktirin alein as a kmitza. Then you don't do the kmitza. You're not maktir the kmitza to that. So therefore, we can't say that you put it on first because maybe it's shirayim. So Gemara says, "Ihachi hashtanami ikri kan." Right, so why don't you say the same thing here? Right, then anything that's on the mizbeach is gonna be that you're not allowed to burn it. Right? So if you're gonna burn it, put the kmitza first, then you're not allowed to go burn the rest of it. That's considered leftovers that wasn't burned with the original kmitza. So what are you gonna do? So Rabbi Yehuda, Breder of Shimon Pazi, the Makdele L'Shum Eitzim. What he does is he burns the flour, the extra flour from in between the fingers. He has in mind that it's really wood, not flour. Right? Like Rebbe Eliezer, you're not allowed to put it on as a reach nichayach for something that smells, but you are allowed to use it as eitzim, which is quite an interesting mahalach to do that. I guess flour does come from the ground, so it can potentially be some form of wood, right? I guess that's the lumdus behind it. Otherwise, how does it work? So that's good according to Rebbe Eliezer, who holds that you can consider flour like wood. Elul Rabbanan Ma'ikalam Meimar. But according to Rabbanan, what are you going to say? Right? Then how you allowed to put this flour onto the Mizbeach? So Amar Ramari, a fascinating teretz. Ramari says, the kamti shmeini, you got to have a kohen who has very fat fingers do it. Yeah, and since he has fat fingers, you're volunteering on. Yeah, all right. I was gonna say that I would, if I was a kohen, I'm a bechor, so maybe I might qualify. But you're saying you're gonna do it. Okay,
we got that in
the job.
common. Bechor, fat fingers, but I'm a kohen. So
maybe I get.
So they chose.
You could. Yeah.
So they chose all the fat kohanim to do the kmitza.
Yes, it seems like if you wanted to have pull to do an avoid in the Beis Hamikdash, somehow fatten up your fingers, and then you'd get into the kmitza. You'd get into the kmitza group, right? And so I mean, and so Mamela, they're so I don't get the lumbus.
Why does that work? Why does that work better?
I have no idea. If you have fat fingers, there's no space in me. I think they're so fat.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
I think they're so fat that they don't separate.
Okay, good, fine.
I'm saying lahavdil, for those of us, I will say us, that our legs are not the skinniest, the Lashon Sagi nor, right? So by Shemana Esrei, you know what I mean? Your feet are always together. What do you right? That's the only way I could be Madama, but it makes sense to me, right?
Very good.
So Amari the Kamti Shmeni. Hashdados is lachi. So now that you said that that's the teretz, Rebbe Nami lechatchila the Kamti Shmeni. So you can say Rebbe Lezer too. Make sure you use kahanim that are fat. So Mamela, so you could just use fat kahanim, and therefore that you'll be able to do that. What are you saying?
Now that you got to the two dots, I want you to give Basura Toiva. Rabbi Kana's son is out of the hospital.
Wow,
he's home. He's home. They sent out a video. He spoke on the microphone for a few seconds from in front of his dira, thanking everybody and whatever. Yeah, but
that's wild. That's wild. Baruch Hashem. Okay, on that big good note, I guess we'll stop here. And tomorrow night's stop is very short, so we can stop here. The Olam should have a restful Shabbos. Mazel tov to Perek again on the Bar Mitzvah, B'Shat Tova, and everybody should enjoy the Shabbos.
What time tomorrow night?
I guess around 9. What's 72 is 9:30.
What time is the Kiddush over, Yaakov? We may go into Motzei Shabbos. You know what I mean?
I hear. Tomorrow, figure out 9:45. I can't imagine before 9:40.
All right, so if there's enough scotch, we'll do that. No?
I got to watch a movie.
Yeah, somebody brought over another bottle of tequila if anybody's interested.
Listen, if we have to, we have to, parents.
The Avion.
Kosher? The kosher?
Avion, 44.
So what time's tomorrow? What time's here tomorrow night?
All right,
9:45. 9:45.
9:45.
Yep. Whichever way you want to look at it. Yes.
Is this suffix here the hektish equivalent of a drawer de mamaina? The psak is it's a suffix.
I wonder.
Also, I was wondering that this psak at the end that we use the fat-fingered kohenim. Lamaisa, it's a net loss to hektish, essentially. They'll get a smaller kmitza. There's less space. There's less airspace.
Again, what are you saying?
They use kohenim with fatter fingers. There's a net loss because there's less airspace between their fingers and their palms. So the kmitza is ultimately going to be smaller.
Okay, so what are you saying?
I'm just saying that didn't bother them. But it's bedavka making a smaller kmitza to get out of a suffix.
I hear. Right. Yeah. I don't understand. How much flour could they possibly have gotten anyways out of that?
Not much. Not much. Kmitza is quite small. I would venture to say it's probably around the size of a kazayas.
You think it's a kazayas?
Well,
Okay.
if you take away all chumrah, without all chumrah, it's probably about the size of a kazayis.
I hear.
Also, the first answer of the Gemara, that they burn it after the original kmitza for eitzim, that's mashma that they burnt it for eitzim without making it t'nai. It means even if it was hektish, they could burn it as eitzim. We have a suffix. Either it's kmitza or it's not kmitza. Our problem is it's not kmitza. If it's not kmitza, you could do it as eitzim, that's for sure, fine. But if it is kmitza, how do you burn it as eitzim?
If it is kmitza,
we have a suffix, right? Either it's hektish or not. If it's kmitza, if it's really
right.
part of the kmitza, then it has to go on the mizbeach, period. If it's not, it can't go on the mizbeach. So on the tzad that it's not kmitza, Gemara says, so burn it because of its eitzim. Burn it l'shem eitzim. Yeah? How do you do that if it is kmitza? If it is part of the kmitza, how can I say it's now eitzim?
I don't know.
Maybe that's why the Gemara says...
Probably earlier than that.
Is that why the Maskana falls off? Is that why the Gemara falls off, maybe, and says, even now that we've answered the final teretz, they use the fat-fingered kohen, and even according to Eliezer, you use the fat-fingered kohen.
I hear that.
Because it wouldn't be lechatchila anyway. But could I lechatchila, according to Eliezer, make it tonight? If it's a kmitza, good. If it's not the kmitza, it's eitzim.
Somebody in the daf here said it was they do something with it tonight, no?
I don't know.
I don't know, check.
Oh, Rashi. I skipped to one line Rashi. I missed the one line Rashi. I'm sorry. Rashi says, D'matile l'shum eitzim. D'masne v'oimer ishirayim inu arei g'shar eitzim. Yeah.
Right, so that's right.
Yeah.
All right, I got it over here.
Yeah. Yashikayach. Have a Meirdik Shabbos.
Pleasure.
Is there a minute to bring early Shabbos this week, B'davka? Because of Neirus, Paloischa? I
never heard that.
I never either. I'm just asking. I thought maybe you have.
I never heard that. I'm not making early Shabbos. My phone is on till the Shkia, my friend.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah. I'm still hoping to be able to make it to shul tonight. I took a painkiller just for that.
Right here. All right.
Yashikayach. Have a good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Feel good.
Amen.